are renewed calls this morning for left-leaning Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor to retire.
Now, she is the first Latina and third woman to serve on the High Court. She's 70 years old and the oldest Democrat-appointed judge on the Supreme Court's bench. Now, with President-elect Trump headed back to the Oval Office and reports of serious health concerns for Sotomayor, many Democrats are hoping she will gracefully step down as soon as possible so that President Biden can appoint another liberal judge while Democrats still have control of the Senate. Is that even possible? We'll bring in now Alan Dershowitz, Professor Emeritus at Harvard University. We appreciate that, Professor. Thanks for coming on. So you saw the setup there. Is that a possibility for President Biden, for the Democrats?
It certainly is. Technically, if she retired now, Biden would get to make the nomination, and the Senate currently would be able to confirm it. Now, I don't think she's going to resign. I know her. I've argued in front of her when she was a circuit court judge. I went to a baseball game sitting next to her. She's a really nice woman, a real New Yorker. I like her very much. I don't like all of her opinions, but I like many of them. And the real question is, are the Republicans going to play the game? The Democrats going to play the game the Republicans played? Of course, we know that the Republicans played the game with Garland when they refused to give him a hearing in the run-up to an election years ago. And so the question is it going to be tit for tat? It would hurt the Supreme Court if this happened. It would really politicize the court and politicize the process by which justices resign, retire, and then other justices get appointed. So the real question is, do you put the partisan advantage before the Supreme Court? I think John Roberts, the Chief Justice, who I also know, would be furious if this happened, because it would very much demean the authority of the Supreme Court. But look, I understand Democrats are urging her to do it, to play tit for tat with them being deprived of a place on the Supreme Court for Garland. What happened with Garland was absolutely unjust. And so the question is, do you fight fire with fire?
But
knowing he's going to play the game.
Yeah, but technically speaking, I guess if she were to submit the resignation, you could gather all the senators together. They could appoint someone to fill her spot in the time that President Joe Biden remains president?
Yes, that could happen. That's legally, constitutionally permissible. It's never happened, as far as I know, in our history. And it would require, three things. It would require her to resign. It would require the president quickly to nominate a replacement. And it would require, before January 2nd, the Senate, as currently constituted, to have hearings and to confirm the new nominee. I don't predict that's going to happen, and I think it would damage the credibility of the court as much as the Garland fiasco damaged the credibility of the court. So I hope it doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I suspect she will serve as long as her health allows her to serve. If she was going to retire because of bad health, she should have done it before the election, before she knew who won. But knowing who won and then retiring right after a person that she was opposed to won the election would really smack of politics, and it would be politics. So it would demean the Supreme Court.
Professor, let's move to the election if we can. There are a lot of happy people out there that got results that they wanted to get, with President-elect Trump now gaining 312 electoral votes, a major decisive win, even winning the popular vote this time around 64 million to Kamala Harris' 69 million. There's the other side of it, where their candidate did not win. They are unhappy. This is an emotional time, and it's cascaded down to the colleges, where even some professors have canceled classes so that some of the students can take the time, based on the election results, to grieve. Even Harvard, Princeton professors canceling classes, letting them recover from the results of the election. Professor, your thoughts on that?
These professors would have canceled classes if Harris had won, to allow the pro-Trump people to grieve. None of them canceled classes after October 7th, when there were terrible traumas on Jewish students. If I were a Harvard student whose class was canceled by a professor, I would show up at the class, and then I would file a lawsuit against Harvard for a return of partial tuition. Schools should not permit professors to interject partisan politics into the classes or into the scheduling of classes. It's outrageous, and it's so insulting to students to think that these snowflakes can't even adapt and go to class after their candidate lost an election. I remember when at Harvard, when they canceled classes after 9/11, and I insisted that my students come and we deal with this issue. And the same thing was true, I remember, when Robert Kennedy was assassinated and people wanted to cancel exams. These snowflakes have to understand that in real life, you have to deal with tragedies, whether they're personal tragedies or political tragedies, and you have to stand up to them, and you can't use your grieving as an excuse for being absolutely irresponsible. So I think any professor who canceled should be ashamed of themselves. They should be docked of their salary for the amount of time that they canceled classes, and they should be ashamed and shamed in the court of public opinion. That's not the way universities should operate.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've got a 4-month-old at home. I get no days off, no matter what happens in my life. So I think these kids could go to college, could go to class, especially for the price that they are indeed paying. You made an excellent point. That is Professor Alan Dershowitz joining us. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.